why I said people love to worship the religion more than the relationship. Love you to death, Billy. You lost, bro. You lost.
And I think the Bible is the opposite of restricting. It gives you boundaries.
It's empowering.
Yeah, it gives you boundaries to stay spiritually safe and also live like a good and moral life. Like that's the goal. It's not here to restrict you in any way.
The only one you need to be judging is you, because the only person you can track and the only person who's lived your full life is you. When you throw stones at everyone, it's just not a good tactic leadership-wise to bring people
I think that's what happened
to join your team.
Yeah, and I actually know, based off of what Billy has told me and I've heard him say in podcasts, that's what turned him away from Christianity.
What's up, everyone? We're getting ready to play. David, just play.
I've been criticized for years for many things from many people. But the thing that gets me the most, the people that get me the most, that disappoint me the most, are the so-called people that believe in God. The way they come at me for how I cuss, how I deliver my message, the emails I get, the last email I get was disgusting. I believe in God more than people ever know. And let's say I didn't believe in God. The way you talk to me in that email, if you think for 1 second that you would get me to even look at God the way you were talking, it'd be humanly impossible. So a lot of these politicians, they're poisoned by politics. They're poisoned by the way they believe in politics. A lot of you people in religion are poisoned by the way you believe. You're not open-minded. There's so many people from different races, different colors, different creeds, different ethnicities, different incomes in the way they think. God has sent so many different messengers down here. Some cuss, some don't cuss. Some are nice, some are more disciplined and more medieval. Different messengers for different people. And for you not to understand that, that's where you're missing it. And for me, I wanted to be a priest growing up. But a lot of you hypocrites in the church, you drove me away from the church, not from God. I got close to God. You drove me away from the church. How I live right now, I don't go out, I don't drink, I don't smoke. I live very disciplined because of God. Something you know about me. So hey, what are you doing out here?
What do you guys say?
So,
David Goggins.
we just played a clip from David Goggins, and thank you for everyone that's jumping up on here on the live stream. I see you, Ross, News King, Mark Minard, that's me, and Anton. But look, David Goggins, what he's talking about here, did this post that I love so much on Instagram. I actually commented on it, and I know when this is re-released, boom, it'll pop up in the edit. But what did I say there in my comment?
Too many people worship their religion over their relationship, and you're referring to the relationship with Jesus and the religion of Christianity.
And just that comment alone got like 500, 600 likes.
Yeah, 600.
And so many responses from what David Goggins is talking about here. And that's why we wanted to react to what this really is. What David Goggins, all of you who know who he is, he's this dude, he's in your face, he's all about be the best you. I love him to death, by the way. Works out hard, drops F-bombs, but that's who he is. And what he's saying is some of his biggest haters in mean ways claim to be Christians. And they'll write him stuff, and I've had this happen too, in the name of God, in the name of Jesus, saying like, how dare you say the F word, you're going to burn in hell. Like I've had him say stuff. Meanwhile, what David Goggins is doing in the life that he's living in our relationship with God is between us and God. Like no other human being can judge that. They don't know what that is. That's between you and God.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying, I've got this close relationship with God, like throughout my whole life. And I'm living the sermon by what I do more than all of you will ever know. Like I'm out here helping millions of people become better versions of themselves.
Mm-hmm. And not putting a label on it, which opens people up.
Right. But he also openly admits when he's asked, yes, I believe in God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He also doesn't specify which God.
Well, I mean, I don't really know like how many, when someone just says I believe in God, I just assume it's God. Like, I don't know what you mean. I don't think you need to you've been too much in the spiritual guru. You're too this dude, and my guy Anton that's with me, by the way, has been first of all, amazing, the social media guru, been doing it for over 10 years since he was 18, now 29. Full social media company with like high profile people. This is the behind the scenes dude that's worked with everyone. Like, really,
Yeah,
tons of
lots
famous people and stuff blew up their accounts. A lot of them have been on the spiritual side, which, by the way, whatever you choose that makes you a better you, that's your journey and your path. But you've had some kind of interesting journeys with that, and you were pushed away from God, from the church, from the religion, from what you told me, by kind of what David Goggins was talking about right there. The people. I got massacred with comments on a recent show that I did by some people showing love and some quote Bible verse condemning me through that, but they don't, without knowing who you are and what. So why I said people love to worship the religion more than the relationship. What I meant by that, when I say that, and what David Goggins says, is some people are so quick to worship just the religion. I perfectly go to church every Sunday. I read my Bible every morning from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. I go to my Bible study every Thursday, which, by the way, those are all great things. They overly worship that over, but as a person, I'm a piece of shit. I don't treat my staff well. I'm stingy with my money. I don't pay people well. I don't help anyone. I don't actually go out there and live the sermon. Then they're quick to write me, or like David Goggins, if they hear me just say the SH word right there. How dare you say the SH word? You're going to burn in hell. You have a platform, Mark. Meanwhile, they don't know I have a company for people with development that serves over 100 people with developmental disabilities. Like the sermon that I'm living.
Yeah.
My wife's from Sierra Leone, West Africa. Like all the people we're continuing. I don't openly need to announce this. That's between me and God, and this relationship that I have with God in my life through Jesus from being in jail at age 17, and how deeply embedded and powerful that relationship is, and how God leads my step by step every day. And unfortunately, we can always be being better versions of ourselves.
Yes.
I try not to cuss all the time. I really do. I don't cuss that much on the shows. I mean, you edit my things.
Yeah. You're solid.
But that I've met people that have never said a cuss word in public, but then I found out behind closed doors they go home and beat their wife every night. Right. And they were pastors of a church I went to.
That's crazy.
That's what I mean by some people, and they would be the ones commenting, how dare you say the SHIT word, Mark?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, you said it good when we were talking privately about like he who has not sinned cast the first stone, right? We're all sinners, and I think Jesus, his big thing was he disliked hypocrites, He called out the Pharisees. I mean, he pretty much told them, their hearts were calloused, and they didn't have the ears to hear. Yet, they I don't remember the exact verses, but it's something like, you act like your cup is full of life, but it's full of emptiness, pretty much. It's not at all what he says, but it's something to that effect.
So to break down what you're saying is words versus actions. in a lot of ways.
Well,
Like
yes, but
your
also change of
fruit.
heart. Like, where's
Right.
your heart?
Where's your heart?
Where's your heart? I think that's the core of Jesus's message. It's like you can have good words, you can even have good actions, but are you doing it because of love? Like, it's like Jesus talks about, I don't know, actually I don't know if it's Jesus, but in the Bible it talks about how you shouldn't, like, if you're
Are you
giving,
doing it for
right,
show?
are you giving to get recognition, or are you giving because you have a real heart and you don't really give a crap who sees, but you just love?
And
That's
that's where the relationship comes in, because that's
right. Right.
not in public
Right, right,
and
right.
in public.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And it's so, we live in this social media world where everybody wants to put all of their good deeds and good achievements out there for the world to see. And sometimes, I mean, we've all done it. I've done it. You do
Sometimes
something.
it's for some credibility
Right.
and
And
stuff
there is
too.
some beauty in that because it can, like there's a lot of like this one guy I follow on Instagram. He's like MD Motivator or something. And he does these random acts of kindness and he gives people money and raises money for people. It's a beautiful thing to see. And I don't think he has a problem with his heart, but I think there's a lot of people who get fooled by good deeds. You see these celebrities and these big influencers doing good works, but their hearts are evil.
But behind the scenes, they could be evil.
Absolutely. And that's what Jesus really was obviously condemning.
And more so, the ones that did it in the name of Christianity. Or at that point,
Yeah.
Judaism, that were high up in the. So they were the ones that knew every verse.
Right.
They
the
studied
Pharisees.
it. The Pharisees. They would be the high ups today,
Yes.
high up in power,
Yes.
and knew every verse. They would be the ones writing David Goggins, writing me. How dare you think you could do anything? I know, and they could know every verse. They could have, and their hearts were so wicked and evil. And this is, and everyone that knows my show and stuff, like we talk about everything. Like Anton and I, we're both business owners, we're entrepreneurs. We've been through our own different struggles. I talk leadership, I talk anxiety, confidence, everything. And I'm not I don't like labels. This isn't like a Christian podcast. I'm a Christian. So when
Right.
I get asked about it, I don't hide from it.
Right.
But I'm also here I have listeners from all over the world. We have tons of it from Australia, New Zealand, South Africa. Someone just wrote me from India. Many of you actually wrote me from India the other day, and about things you're even struggling with some mentors you've had. I think they said they were having some struggles with their different beliefs and stuff. And one thing I like to tell one is that's okay to go through struggles.
Yeah.
Because let that lead you. This is why I don't like get on here and preach down people's throats and say, you have to believe everything I believe or else you're going to go to hell and stuff. Because that only pushes people away.
Right. And that's just not true.
It's good to research and question everything on your own and continue to see like where it leads you. And then also like what David Goggins was saying is try to look at who the people are, like what if there's someone that you personally know that you're following that you look up to. I say fruits speak louder than words. So
Yes.
look at not only are they, if they're talking about this and God and that, like look at, okay, well, what's they're
heart.
killing it in their business and they're married. Like what's their marriage like? They're killing it in business. That's awesome. But like, what's their relationship with their kids like?
Yes.
Like, are they amazing there, but they're a piece of crap at home? Are they going to the strip clubs every week, cheating on their wife every weekend,
Right.
claiming to be this? And we're all human. We make mistakes. But then I also look at how does one take accountability from the mistakes and actually want to change?
Well, yeah, that's repentance, right? It's not like
Let me tell my daughter. I should go ahead.
Yeah, I was having a debate with a friend of mine, semi-debate, I guess. And our definitions of repentance were just so different. And his whole thing was like, he was almost using, like, he's a Christian, and he was using the terminology of Christianity to pretty much justify his sin. He's like, well, if I do bad and I repent, it's okay. And I was like, you and I have very different beliefs about our understandings of repentance. My understanding is repentance is a turn away from sin. You turn your back to the old ways. You change your actions.
Right. You've got it. So I just had someone on my show, a great dude, who's all over in the music industry, work with everyone. I
Oh,
remember,
Pooh Bear?
yeah. And I
Yeah.
remember we didn't get deep into it, but that was one of his things. He's like, I don't get it with Christian. And him and I didn't have a chance to talk about it like in depth.
Right.
But I remember he was like, I don't understand, because some people, get it, can misconstrue thinking, well, if you're following this and believing this, but God's like, you can just do whatever you want and you'll be forgiven.
I do
So
not
I
believe
might as
that.
well just do what I want. Well, he says that, but that's not entirely what it means. Will you be forgiven? Yes. But he also continues to say, it was like when they were going to stone the prostitute, Mary.
Magdalene.
And at that time, men didn't even like speak to women that were prophets and stuff. And that's where Jesus stopped them. They're like, don't murder her. If you haven't sinned, go ahead and throw the first stone. That's where that whole thing comes.
Right.
But when he took her, he's like, come with us now. But he's like, but you can't keep hooking.
Right.
You can't keep going and banging people left and right. He didn't use those words. This is the modern day Jesus. But if she was like, okay, cool, Jesus, do you forgive me? I'm gonna go bang 20 other guys now tonight to pay my bills.
Right.
He would be like, no, like you need to. So he would say, repent and change. And change your ways.
Right.
Now,
Right.
by the way,
Right.
it doesn't mean you're going to not have I have people write me a
Slip-ups, right.
lot about porn and stuff like that. Yes, you'll have slip ups and stuff, but the thing is, is your heart keep trying and wanting and intentionally trying to be a better version
Yes.
of yourself?
Right, because sin
You
just
know what I
simply,
mean? Does that make sense?
100%. Sin really just translates to missing the mark. It's actually an archery term, I believe. I could be totally wrong on that. Something
What did you
like
say?
that. Sin literally translates to miss the mark.
Right.
So that's the whole thing. It's like, I've committed sins personally, not knowing I was sinning. So in God's eyes, is that wrong? I don't think so, because I was a naive kid, like he's not gonna condemn you for that. But I think once you, I was talking with a good buddy of mine who was a big domino in my coming to Christ, and we were having a really good chat, and he was like, yeah, man, you have the Holy Spirit when you just can't sin the same anymore. And I was like, damn, that's so true.
When you can't, sorry, while you're doing that, my daughter was calling me. I
you're
don't
good.
normally do this on a show.
You're good.
And I told you I saw something weird in my backyard the other day, like a
the
UFO.
Government UFO.
Whatever, dude.
UFOs don't exist.
You don't have to get all overly worried. Yeah, well, Elon Musk already talked about in space.
There's no aliens.
They've had millions of satellites for decades, and he's like, I would love to have. He's like, we've seen zero.
Yeah, there's no aliens.
But there are UFOs as far as unidentified flying objects that, whether they're government made or other country, there's weird stuff in the sky, technology that we don't know about, which is what that could be.
I went to Area 51.
Well, I've been there too, but anyway,
No, like I
she
literally
just
went to
texted
the
me
gate.
right now. There was something really weird in the sky. Well, dude, I mean, you got to admit there's technology that's obviously being, if they were doing those studies in the 50s of like, oh my gosh, what is all the stuff they were doing? Not only they were already messing with moving particles.
Yeah.
And they weren't teleporting, but
Right.
So there's crazy technology things that we don't know exist yet that could be made by humans. I'm not saying they're made by like creatures from under the pyramids or under the like.
Yeah, I mean, I have
something.
a belief that a lot of our inventions are influenced by I think, what people would call aliens, but I don't think they're aliens. I think they're like I don't think they're physical. I think they're interdimensional, and I also don't know if they're good personally. I mean, that's just my beliefs. I could be totally crazy, but I just seen some stuff.
Well, but there also could be ships, technological advanced flying things made by
Oh, for sure.
deep stuff
Governmental.
that's whether it's government, privatized, other things with that is just technology we have not seen yet that's made to be classified.
Right.
That you see that and it's like, that's considered an unidentified flying object because you don't know what it is. So it doesn't necessarily mean aliens are flying it. There may be no one flying it. Some might be controlling it, but it's still cool and crazy when you see something.
Sure is.
And my daughter just saw, and I saw something weird.
Yeah, you're
just
telling
in
me.
the sky.
So I really like this. Matthew 15:8. These people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are so far from me. Are far from me. You know, that's so true.
Mm.
That's like, you know, I don't want a blanket statement, but
That's what David Goggins is talking about too.
Right. And I would say that's most like quote unquote religious people. Like, I don't
overly religious people.
Well, I mean, I would just say religious people. I mean, how many Christians are in America? I don't know the number, but it's a lot. And I would say, again, I don't want to generalize because it's just not a good way to go about things. But at the same time, let's like look at the state of the world. It's obvious people's hearts are far from God. Some, right.
You're talking news and so I can tell you from traveling when I go around the world, I've met so many people doing so many beautiful things that you just don't see all the good deeds and stuff on the day-to-day, unfortunately, on the news and stuff. And it's not
negativity is going to always be.
Yeah. I've seen horrible things and I've seen so many beautiful things of people helping people and of all different religions and stuff that they're closer, kind of like C.S. Lewis said that quote, I've met Christians that are further away from God and Jesus than they could possibly know. And I've met atheists that are closer to Jesus and God than they could possibly know because of what's really in their heart and their actions.
That's deep.
And I've seen people all around the world doing a lot of, there's bad people, but there's a lot of great people out there too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So people seem to overly think all humanity's going down it, but there's a lot of there's hope.
That's a good point.
There's a lot of hope out there.
That's true.
And there's a lot of great people. And I have people commenting from all over the world on our stuff all the time that are like wanting to change and be better versions of themselves. And they're seeking wisdom, you know, and they're wanting that.
Seek and ye shall find.
My daughter was just sending me, I don't know, it's not showing up. It might have been Cars Light. I was asking her if she could send me if she got a video clip of it. She was just calling a lot. That's funny. In the middle of this.
Yeah, to your atheist point, you know, people who are not quote unquote religious or they don't believe in a higher power, but their hearts are, you know, in a good place. I think everybody worships a God, whether they know it or not, and it's just their top value. So if these people are very like contribution and love driven,
right?
That is God in my beliefs. And Bible talks about blessed are the pure in heart; they will see God.
Right. Even whether or not they know, it's what's in, and that's what's in your heart, who you are, and people can be so quick to judge someone not understanding. The only one you need to be judging is you, because the only person you can track and the only person who's lived your full life is you. So it's really easy to look at someone else and judge they did this, but you don't know what all they've been through and what all they've overcome to where this one thing they've done.
Yeah.
They may have not done a trillion things that you've ever had to face to get to there. So them compared to them, they've come really far.
Yeah, yeah. There's this really
You
good
know what I mean?
there's this really good story. There was this monk who was like an alcoholic, and I forget where this was, but it was a Christian
You
saint,
took a drink on that.
Orthodox Christian saint, and this, I think it was Saint Paisios. Yeah, it was Saint Paisios. Really awesome saint. And there's this monk, and he's an alcoholic, and all the other newer monks were like, we got to get this monk out of here. He's an alcoholic. He's ruining everything. He's drinks. He's got a problem. And long story short, the monk would go to confession with this Saint Paisios, and that monk, who was an alcoholic, ended up dying. And when the other monks came to Saint Paisios, he was like, did he make it to heaven or something like this? I'm totally butchering the story. But long story short, it was Saint Paisios was like, look, when this monk started in this monastery or whatever, he would have 12 drinks a day. And every time he repented, and as every year went down or went past, he went from 12 drinks to 11 to 10 to 9 to 8. And he got all the way down to 1 drink or something.
That's a perfect example.
Right. So it's like I love St. Paisios, man. He's so solid.
That's a perfect
right,
example
because
you could look and be like,
the monks who
you're
didn't
drinking
understand,
6 a day,
right?
but be like, dude, a year ago
I
he was drinking
12, right? So it's like that's the repentance. That's
so
real
he's
repentance.
gotten like 100% better, or 50%. I
Yeah.
don't know.
And by the end, he was down to
expert at math.
he was he was down to 1, right? So or something like that,
Right.
And that's the change of heart. Yeah, he's not perfect, but look at
No
this.
one is.
This is beautiful.
But we're continually becoming better versions of ourselves, and it's a lifelong journey. And some people that wrote me on here, I hope you watch, some have asked me in depth, like, actually I've had guys write me a lot about like porn and stuff too, and I'm not even shy to talk about it.
Porn is one hell of a demon,
right? And it's something that I never even realized was a thing until
it's so bad, man.
I decided at a point to like stop looking at porn, like later in my 20s. And I actually had a friend. It was this guy. He was a good dude. He was a male. This guy's like a model. He's everywhere, like on every famous. It's funny. I always would laugh at him. He's like in everything. But married, good dude. And he opened up to me about when he stopped looking at porn and like his struggle with that and and I'm like, oh, really? I didn't realize it was really a thing. And then I'm like, well, maybe I'll try that. And then so what I did is I stopped. It didn't happen overnight. It was more gradual. And someone like several people wrote me like, what are some things I can do? So one thing that I did was I had someone to hold me accountable. So this was that person. So if I did, I'd be like, oh man, I fell. I looked at it. I would text them, and he wasn't like, how dare you? You're going. But just by doing that, he's like, hang in there. You got this. But each time I did it and text him, by having someone hold you, it makes you feel like foolish too, because you're like,
right,
oh man,
right.
now I text him.
Look like an idiot.
Now I text him like 4 times today. And
right.
having that, like, but then what I started to notice was it's just like any other habit. So you start replacing it. Instead of just trying to quit one thing, try to start replacing it with others. So whether it's like going to the gym, you're feeling the need to look at porn, going out and going on a walk, like doing another action. So that starts helping actually rewire the synapses in your brain. Cause it's like when you get used to these habits, your brain creates these like these like dopamine shortcuts that just quickly go to them. So when you just try to quit something without replacing it with something else, it makes it harder. So when you start replacing it with something else, like that's something I was doing. I'm like, I'm feeling like doing this. I'm like going to go for a jog. I'm going to do something like that.
Right.
And it would give me like another form of like dopamine, and it would be like a healthy habit too.
Yeah.
But what I started noticing back then too was I didn't realize by looking at it all the time and stuff, reels and stuff would just be playing like in my subconscious. And as I stopped looking at it more and more, those started going away more and more. And it's just like anything else. It takes practice, it takes time. Then I would make it like a full year.
Mm.
And then all of a sudden I would be like, I would just get this thing and fall again. But it
Yeah.
kind of like that it became
Right.
less and
Right. You turn
more
your back.
more in between.
It's awesome.
But I'll never get to a point in my life where if anyone, I'm perfect now. You always have to stay guarded.
Right. Because there's a spectrum, right?
Right.
It's like you could watch porn and look at naked women and naked men, by the way, which is super weird if you really think about it.
I
You know what I
mean,
mean?
so-
And then so there's that, but then there's also lusting, like in real life, like going out
lust
and
is
about.
lust, dude. I mean,
definitely
if
have
people
struggled
lust,
with that big time.
man, it's still something else.
Right, because it's
there.
like some people watch porn, other people look at girls, whatever, in public, and they're with a spouse, or even if they're not. It's just like men should strive not to do that, but you're also human, and we also have biology. But I think porn is very I think it's very spiritually damaging and psychologically, because it makes you disrespect women, and it gives you a very, like, sex, in my opinion, is like the most sacred thing, and porn just totally ruins that. And I think a lot of people get introduced to it at a really young age, and it takes them away from the purity and the innocence of what sex really should be. And it's really, 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 really sad. I had an ex-girlfriend that, her like boyfriend like forced her to watch porn. And I always thought that was super weird. And it's sad because it taints people. And I mean, I'm no angel. I've watched a ton. But,
right. And by the way, God doesn't, when you're married and stuff, God doesn't get people. You got to do different things to spice your marriage up.
for sure.
People do what that's up to you in your marriage and what you agree with your partner. You notice the Bible doesn't like get into the bedroom and be like, now when you're doing this with your wife, make sure you don't. But he really does, because I've had people overly like, this isn't okay. Some get carried away with like, this position's not okay. This one, and it's like, shut up,
Gosh.
leave them alone in their bedroom.
Right,
If they want to maybe do something like that together and they're healthy, that's fine. But if that continues to lead, I'm not even getting into that, because if you're a couple, that's a different thing. If you're forcing someone else, that's another thing.
Yeah.
But
Well, there's
if you're watching it on your own more and more, I know in my own case, it just continues. I know from when I stopped how much better I actually felt. And it's like I didn't even realize the hold that it had on me till I chose to stop doing it in the time that it took. And it's like, oh, man, that stuff like gets out of it wasn't like wrecking my life, but it wasn't helping my life either.
Because it's going to lower your testosterone too, for as men. There's a lot of research to show this. It changes the way your brain functions, and it's like similar to like a cocaine addict or something, or heroin. So there is a lot of negative things too. And I think what it's interesting, because I from what I can observe, a lot of people struggle with this stuff. But talking with my priest and other, just seeing things online, a lot of Christian people specifically really struggle with porn,
Of
men
course.
and women. And I think that says something about like the shadow, because it's like, if you, not to say you should sin, but if you suppress anything long enough, it eventually has to be expressed. So, I think what you said about spicing it up in the bedroom's important. I heard Jordan Peterson talk about how like the most popular book amongst Christian women is 50 Shades of Grey.
Right.
So crazy. That's
and that movie was written by a female too.
Oh, interesting.
Did you know that? That's why.
It's a book and movie.
Yeah. The book was written by a female,
That's
So
fascinating.
it's more of a fantasy type thing. Well, no, and he breaks down the difference of how men are so visual.
Right. Women like the story.
They like the story
Yeah.
and the sort of the fantasy of taking a monster and like turning them good. It's kind of how Jordan beat it.
Right.
Like the Beauty and the Beast thing
Right,
of
right,
taking
right.
this like vampire or whatever.
So
It's
weird.
funny, but it's like kind of it's just we're wired differently, and
Yeah, it makes sense.
and by the way, like that doesn't mean that's a horrible to have a fantasy. And if they want to role play in the bedroom, the dudes, like it's up to God, that's up to them. That's in their like bona fide marriage.
Right.
But it's when you start compartmentalizing and hiding,
And getting obsessed in these things.
it's kind of like
Hiding, yeah,
the
hiding.
analogy I had a mentor give me is like you like become one when you're married, and you still have your own lives as individuals. You have to
course.
trust each other. But when you start, it's like you're sharing he kind of like use it like you're one, you have a house, but he's like, when you start creating these other like secret rooms,
Yeah.
that it's like, this is this secret place I go to look at porn,
Right.
like in my head, that you have to hide from them.
Yeah.
That's where stuff like that starts becoming and by the way, someone that's going through that, I'm also not the person that's going to tell you you're going to go to hell. I'm going to say you're like 99.999% of every other guy. What I am telling you is it gets better when you learn to like overcome that.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking I'm the only one, what's wrong with, it's like nothing's wrong with you. Like every guy goes pretty much through that. But you just learn what I've learned, and we were kind of talking about this yesterday, is I don't preach down people's throats. I don't do that on my shows. I believe in God. I also get wisdom from all other sources. I look at what's in people's hearts. I have a great preacher I met with, but when it comes to business, he's not the one that I want to get mentorship on business, because I have another guy I get counsel from business. He does have good core values, but he might not have. You just have to have a good counsel and a good rounded source of people that you continue to look for information. Because I've had some people think and say, how could you not go to them if they're not a Christian? It's like, shut up. Like,
yeah.
If it's a good, knowledgeable person that's going to give me wisdom, I don't need to freaking ask what they're political, but like wisdom comes from wisdom. And then you take the knowledge. It's up to you and grow and keep being the best you.
Yes. The butcher's going to butch, the baker's going to bake, the chemist is going to chemist. The cutter's going to cut. Like, a priest's job is to move you closer to God. And that's going to be their intention. They might not know anything about business. So I think
and there's some that do.
I think it's smart. I think God should be in everything. And I think, but a preacher or a priest's job is to move you to help you with your salvation, so and
be open and real. We were talking about the importance of the openness and the authenticity, which is what David Goggins is saying that pushed him away, which I get it, even though he still has a deep, deep relationship with God, because some people in some of the churches and stuff can start to try to dictate they're
hypocrites.
They can be hypocrites, and then people start thinking, oh my God, this is what every other Christian's like. I don't want anything to do with this. I don't blame them, because those people are freaking annoying as hell. But that's not, but I'm like, by the way, that's not God talking. That's just a human being. And human beings all have flaws. Then there's other people you'll meet that are real, that are actually going out, like my dude, Eric Thomas. We were talking about him.
Yeah.
E.T., really the hip hop preacher, famous all over. I've had him on the show. I met him. I've known him for like 14 years now. Beyond being a public figure, behind the scenes, this is someone that is super famous, also walks the talk. And yes, people like that exist.
And a
Killing it
millionaire.
in business,
And
teaches people how to
and
make
has
money,
a church.
has a church, preaches about, by the way, it's okay to want to make money and do stuff. Yes, there's a verse that says money is all the root of all evil, but if you read more into that, it's worse. It's like when you really start worshiping and idolizing money or anything else, it becomes the root of all evil. However, there's so many people that God has blessed with massive abundance, like David, who became king, who fought Goliath, that God blessed, said was the man after his own heart, became king, was blessed with all the riches and glory. For he had to continue to go through a fight. But if you understand that, if you have good core values and you work hard, I always say, not if, when I'm a billionaire, I'm going to be able to help a lot more people. Money's a tool to me. I don't worship it.
Right.
And I'm going to live a damn good life too, by the way. I'll be flying on my private jet at a convenience, and I won't be posting pictures and doing that stupid crap.
Right.
I'll be doing that out of convenience
Right.
to save time.
Yeah, and you've already done that too. You didn't
Well,
post
yeah,
about
that's
it.
true.
Yeah, it's the love of all money. The love of money is the root of all evil.
But yeah, exactly. It's like, what's your why
Because it becomes
behind
your
it?
God.
Because people think every millionaire, every billionaire is evil. It's like, no, you can actually be doing great. We have I already have a company for disabilities. We have bigger plans to help all these people with disabilities in Africa. You may or may not never see me talk about that on social media when I'm a billionaire. I'll be doing that. And I guarantee you there'll be all these people commenting, this guy's a billionaire. How can he believe in God? Meanwhile, they don't even know that's a video that was already made and edited and posted from 3 months ago. I'm literally in Africa in the trenches. My wife and I are helping people with that don't even have wheelchairs in Sierra Leone and do it, and not having to raise money because we are bringing the money, using it as a tool.
Right.
And that's like what someone like Eric Thomas and stuff talks about is God is a God of abundance, but don't only worship money, but also people are so quick to put their limitations on themselves and their own fears to live a life of mediocrity. When God's like, no, I've told you, I've given you the strength to freaking move mountains.
Yep.
And you're sitting there thinking you should live this little life and stay in your little comfort zone shell. Nowhere in the Bible does God say, just play it safe with this life that I've given you. Just play safe. Don't do anything. Do nothing. Stay in your comfort zone. He's like, go out on this adventure of your purpose and your calling, and live the sermon for whatever your calling is. That's why we're all different, which is beautiful. We shouldn't all be the same. You know?
What are your thoughts on this? Jesus says, no one can serve two masters. You either hate one and love the other, or you will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both money and God.
Well, of course. If you wake up every day and start praying to money, I mean, to me, that's where people get it twisted.
Right.
They think when I say when I'm a billionaire, I'm not waking up. We did a post on our YouTube shorts. I had one of Scrooge McDuck showing what $1 billion is from like a 1978 cartoon. It went viral. It's crazy just what $1 billion stacked up. How much it's compared to a million. It's insane. Anyway, when I'm a billionaire, I'm not waking up and praying, dear $1 billion.
Right.
I'm not serving my $1 billion.
Right.
I'm waking up. Thank you, God, for the life you've blessed me with. I say this every day. Thy will be done. Do what you want through me today.
Yes.
Money just magnifies more of who you are.
So true.
Yes, I'm gonna enjoy the fruits of my labor.
Yes.
Which God talks all the time about. When you're blessed, you have fruits in different areas of your life. If someone preaches all day about everything and they don't have any fruits to show it, don't trust them.
You'll know them by their fruits.
Right. So people misconstrue that and think if you have money or something, you're evil. Has there been evil people with money? Absolutely.
1000%.
But there's people that can have a lot of money and be really good people that I know a lot that literally aren't even on social media, that are strong God believing people doing amazing things, and they're not public figures at all, and they're close to being billionaires.
That's awesome.
And they have families. They've been married for like 30 years.
Wow.
But Elon Musk, even just as an example, I get there's a lot of, but if you just think of one example of him, I know he doesn't openly, he talks about he believes in like intelligent design. But anyway, he's the richest dude on earth. There was just a natural disaster. People can hate all they want, but like Trump, who wasn't even president at the time, because I'm not getting political, I'm just talking facts, was no one, where was the natural disaster where they lost all the, was it North Carolina, the hurricane that went through, which, you know what I'm talking about, right? Where the dam also broke, the place was destroyed.
We have a question.
Not
to change the topic.
Well, let me just finish that real quick.
It was, I think it was North Carolina.
And Stephen, we'll get to your question about Billy Carson, of course. So that's funny. So with that, anyway, so Elon Musk, the richest man on earth. It fluctuates sometime on the stocks, but anyway, he's using some of those riches for great things. When they just had the catastrophe from the hurricane, I don't remember if it was North Carolina or South Carolina. Sorry, everyone. He sent Starlink in there to help give everyone like Wi-Fi and stuff when they couldn't make phone calls, when they couldn't do anything, and no one else was doing anything. And that's an example of what's in your heart.
Yeah.
What's in your actions, because all day long people will be like, you're evil, you're the wealthy, you're gonna get, but nobody, he literally just created something following his purpose and then sent it to help all these people when no one else is doing anything.
Right. I think it's really silly, and I mean, we've all been guilty of this, myself included. But I think it's really silly to think we as humans can understand the mind of God and how he uses people to...
Stephen, I'm going to get to your question.
Ultimately make this world better in the weirdest ways. I mean, if we want to look at Christianity, like all the saints were kind of messed up.
He almost just said the F word and he's a Christian.
I caught myself. I'm really trying.
He's going to hell.
Swear. Yeah, right.
So
I mean, look at St. Paul. I mean, this guy murdered.
I do continually try not to cuss, also, Anton, because I just look at it as but David Goggins drops F-bombs and stuff, and I love. But the guy's the most genuine.
I think it's
I love him.
It's like you can't weigh your sin against somebody else's.
Stephen, don't worry, we see you.
We're on a different spectrum, right?
Yeah.
Like I think for me, I don't feel like it represents my true character, but sometimes I do it out of anger or I do it out of habit. So I'm just, working towards it. I caught myself. Look, I'm turning away. How beautiful. So
sometimes I'll be so passionate in a show,
right,
where I'll be in a flow, and it's like sometimes there's not even if it's something real. I'm like, I don't have another word in my vocabulary to even describe what a like piece of whatever this thing is that's going on, and it's just gonna flow, and we'll let it go. When I replay, when we make the reels and stuff, I always talk to you and I tell him like, make sure you beep that out and stuff too. But
it also shows us,
no, Steven said no worries.
Okay, so let's talk about the Billy Carson, we got a question.
I'll answer right away. So
All right. So somebody asks, I have a question about the Billy Carson situation.
Steven Adams, shout out to Steven.
Shout out Steven. Do you have an opinion on who won the debate? I have an opinion because I was editing everything.
Billy was right here.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good conversation.
So when it came to the books that he references, love you to death, Billy.
Yeah, it's
You lost, bro. You lost. Oh my God, bro. What is it? The book of what? Dude, come on. I love you to death. I was shocked with how much I thought I love you so much, but oh my God, when it comes to like the book of Barnabas and the other one,
the book of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, both frauds.
Holy crap. Not only were they frauds, it was like every historian that, whether they're Christian or not, has literally proven these to be frauds. Here's the 15 methodologies we use to do them. Here's the internal value. Here's the Wesley freaking had everything. What do you use? He didn't have an answer for those. He did not win on that. Don't play this only and make a reel out of it, making it like I'm hating on him. I love you to death, Billy.
Right, has nothing to do with his character.
Were other areas where we weren't able to finish it, that Billy was asking some other challenging questions that weren't able to be answered. And I would love to see that more, as to where Billy was like, if God's a good God, why would he create human beings and then flood the whole world and kill them all, other than Noah and stuff?
But I'll interject here. He doesn't understand that. He doesn't understand the basis. And I'm no expert. I'm brand new to Christianity. So,
but I'm just saying that
he doesn't.
When it came to that debate, that question didn't get to be rebutted.
Because he walked away. I mean, I'm sure Wesley would have had an answer. Let's be honest. But he also doesn't understand original sin from Adam. So that's a whole nother theological discussion. And
there needs to be more.
Yeah, there needs to be more. And I think it was very weird how it all played out. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, we do know why, but I mean, I think he won. Wesley won. You think Wesley won. And it was strange for me as a new Christian, it was very strange. And by the way,
wait, when you say won,
okay, I shouldn't even
in specific areas of there's these some of these main, we didn't even get to get into it all.
Right.
But some of the main books that have been being referenced,
yeah, I think the Gnostic Gospels
were very proven to be
the Gnostic,
fraudulent.
So people,
and Billy was really kind and humble with those too.
He absolutely was. I really like seeing.
Stephen too. I hope, like, based on what happens with their other stuff, they put something together, because with being a release, it would also show with some of the stuff, Billy wasn't like getting mad. Once it came to him, he was like,
it's really not fair.
He was like, fair enough. Like, but he wasn't like mad or
because he probably knows, he's going up against a historian who is going to, if they're debating, destroy him, for lack of a better word. But it's really not right for him to confidently go on the biggest podcast in the world and speak confidently about
like
God.
Jesus wasn't crucified.
Like that's just
love you to death, Billy. But
do that.
You're entitled to your own opinions, but you're not entitled to your own facts. I'm going to say that again.
That's a really good way to put it.
You're entitled to your own opinions. Love you to death, my guy. Not entitled to your own facts.
That's
the way I'm saying right now.
That's a really good way to put it.
You can fact check me on. Look, half this thing we've been doing, I've been summarizing verses from the Bible, so someone could get in here and be like, Mark, you had that way. Here's what it says, and I'd be like, oh crap, you're right.
Right. It's really, it's disheartening for me, because I was deep into all this conspiratorial stuff for years, and this is what kept me away from Christ. Because I believed, like, who knows, maybe Jesus is like a higher being of an alien. And like, but that's the thing about these Gnostic-y conspiratorial things, is they strip away the truth, what I believe is the truth about Jesus, that he is God. He is the Son.
Yeah, I'm sick
And
of people
it's not
hating on Christianity
it's
so
not
much. It's
fair.
getting
And
old.
if you're gonna reference Gnostic gospels that have proven fraudulence to back your claims about a God that is like, in my beliefs, really God, then you have to come at it with harder facts. And what I thought was so interesting is, like, he goes on Rogan, he goes on PBD, he goes on Fraudulent or whatever with Andrew Schultz, and he's so confident about his claims. And then he comes up to a historian like Wesley and somebody who really knows the Bible.
I
And
didn't realize that he hadn't ever really
well, he says he's done Bible reports, and I just
debated
don't really
like that
think that's true
before
personally.
I had him in
Right. And then, the whole Deuteronomy thing, I think
Wesley
it was
together.
talking about slaves and women. I really liked what Wesley said. Like, historically, Christianity actually has done the opposite. They don't oppress women historically. Everywhere Christianity bloomed from the past, it actually freed women and got,
well, in the New Testament they were oppressing women, and because they were stoning them and stuff. But I mean, you may have a different word you use for that. So like you could,
well, that
the
was
Pharisees
before,
and stuff.
that was the yeah. So
I'm not saying they were following what it's kind of like now. And that's why Jesus was like, dude, you're freaking doing everything wrong.
Right. Jesus,
they weren't following God, or it's kind of like the haters we're talking about now that right now might write, Anton, you almost said the F word, you're going to go to hell.
Yeah.
They're not, they're using a Bible verse, but they're not actually following God. Those that were stoning women for just accusing them of adultery or something, Jesus was like, this needs to stop. This isn't what I meant for you to do.
Right.
But I do understand how some people could have been pulling verses and use those sadly to their advantage and they were doing that. A lot of the Pharisees that were doing that. Not only were they doing that, they were saying like, you can only get to God through me. And what's unfortunate is a lot of people, and I don't preach and do all this stuff on people's throat, but like,
no, but we had
people don't understand
you guys
how
had the
beautiful
debate, and
it
needs to be
is.
talked about.
Right. That they think religion and stuff is oppressing all these people, and really
it's doing the opposite.
Jesus frees you in such a way of you don't need to go through any other human being anymore. It's over. You don't need to get permission from this priest to talk to God. I'm in you. You got a direct connection with God through the Holy Spirit in your heart. The power and the strength of God is within you. By the way, Billy believes that same thing. He didn't know that I believe that same thing. He believes it in a different way, but he thought that you had to believe in God and go through and I explained to him, actually, the power of God is within me too through Jesus. I have the strength to move mountains. I know I can do all things through Christ.
Right.
I don't need any other human being. That's what is so amazing about Christ, is it's so freeing and it's empowering. It's not limiting, it's empowering.
Yeah, and I will say, I think you and Billy, although you might use the same words, I don't think you believe the same things.
Well, obviously.
I think Billy really has a belief that we are supposed to be our own gods, and that is the same lie that the serpent told Adam and Eve in the garden. And I think,
but he believes in a higher, but he does believe that there's a intelligent design and a God. Yeah, I think Christianity is the obvious standout. Yeah, Stephen. I know it gets tricky because I mean, of course, I agree. But what's unfortunate is like people don't understand.
Christ is superior.
I get it, but I don't. So we have people from all over the world listening that Some have they've been raised in totally different. It's easy. Let me try to think of a way. Sometimes I see people and I don't get angry at them because they don't
No,
believe in God.
that's silly.
No, just I feel sad
Yeah, yeah.
because
Right.
I know at the end of the day, I have my mugshot from when I was beat up, almost died in jail over there, age 17, right turning 18. I know God loved me just as much when I was doing drugs, selling drugs, almost dying in jail, as he loves me today. He doesn't love me more then and now.
No, that's not how God works.
But he's like, you keep doing stupid
Right.
things will keep happening. But what I can say is when I go through the darkest moments in my life where I'm like at the end of my rope, man, and I'm like on my knees, I'm like, God, I've been through it in my life. I am like down and there's nothing. There's no human being. There's nothing. And I've been in those times in those dark nights, man, where it was like February when I was in Ohio and dark at like 4:30 in the afternoon and I was separated in my marriage at that time. Now we've been married for 18 years, thank God. Didn't know what to. Our kids were just newly born. I had my business and I was like had nothing. I had no answers and I just was on my knees one night and I was like, it was darkness. And I remember praying and I remember being like, God and Jesus, like, just take all this from me. I can't handle it. And I
Mm.
remember I just like handed it up. And it wasn't like this magic beam just came from the sky and was like, now your marriage is fixed. Now here's the 10 bullet points of what you need. But I felt this weight lift off me and this love that I always have. And I continue to have moments of that. And when I hit my bottom, there's this special love from God and Jesus that is so beautiful and it's always there. And that's what I want people to have. And I feel sorry. I am sad for people that don't have that, man. It makes me tear up. I think when they're at the end of their rope, like, what do they go to? And that's the part that's not explained enough. Like that's how beautiful God and Jesus really is, man. And when you have that in your life, you don't need to preach. You don't need to act like you're better than people and condemn people and act like you're superior to people. You just want them to have that because it's such a beautiful thing and you want them to have that wholeness and happiness and have something when they're at the end of their rope, man. Whew,
Very well put.
man.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, and I think if they don't, that's where they have to exercise faith. You know, it was sad when I listened back to Billy and he was talking about almost how he thinks creation is negative. That was really sad to me. And a lot of Gnostics believe that. And it's not true. God said creation is good. Doesn't mean things are easy.
What's up, Atul?
It doesn't mean things are easy. It actually means the opposite. How do you enjoy something? It's usually suffering that will lead you to the beauty.
The beautiful struggle.
Yeah, the beauty. There's beauty in the struggle. I mean, look at all Jesus incarnated and suffered willingly. By the way, I think. I mean, I don't know. I would
Well,
assume. Like, I mean, he could have got off the cross. He could have, not been betrayed. I mean, I'm sure he already knew Judas was gonna he could have avoided these things, but he didn't. And I think that speaks to the mighty humbleness and the beauty of our God and how by dying he also was so compassionate that he got to go to Hades and free all the souls that were
conquered hell.
and that's why we have conquered death in him because he conquered death.
Well, it's
It's a beautiful thing. It's really
when you start to
profound when you
understand it
understand
more, it's
So
like he
deep.
became, you don't have to keep sacrificing all these things because he did that now for us. And it's really empowering and beautiful. But unfortunately, um, people naturally can get it twisted and think that it's limiting. And even those that are
Yes.
Christians can think that if you're doing this, you shouldn't be able to do anything. You shouldn't be going after your dreams. You shouldn't live a life of purpose. We all should be like robots. And it's like, no, it's
No.
actually the opposite. That's why Jesus came and flipped it all on its head. And I just want to say one word, like Billy, I've known him, like he's a good dude, man.
Yeah, he is. I know him too personally.
And I like I said, I've traveled with him all over with our families. Like I watch people when they don't know you're watching. I watch how they treat the waiters, the bus boys, the people that they don't think they need. We do this with hiring. I'm always observing, and I've just seen him continue to not even knowing that I'm watching.
Right.
So
He,
I don't
he,
think
he
it's like
contributes. He
I've
definitely
seen him
does.
like do so many kind
Same.
things,
Same.
and
Same.
I'm not making I'm just speaking in general, because you asked that about him, but I love them all, and but like it makes me sad because I don't want to preach on, but I want him to be able to have that when you're just dark on knees and you have nothing, man.
Right.
To feel that love.
Yeah, only Jesus
and not
can do
not just feel like we were talking and towards the end, well, we didn't get to air it, but he was talking like a lot of the world is like
negative.
mentally ill and negative. But then I'm thinking we didn't get to finish, and we've talked. I've seen him with a lot of positivity, and I'm like, but a lot of the world's amazing and beautiful, and I've traveled the world, and I've seen people doing some of the kindest, most amazing things, and there's so much beauty in humanity too. And yes, we're all broken.
Right, we're
Absolutely.
sinners, man.
We're all broken, and that's what's beautiful is through God, you have this breakthrough that comes out of love, not out of condemnation, that helps to heal you and uplift you, and it makes you want to be a better person and help others and love others more.
Yes.
And
spread the good news.
And that's not what's on the news, The news amplifies like 5% to make it look like it's the 100%.
Yeah, and I think this election speaks to that, right? I mean,
thanks, Stephen. He said, I agree. Billy seems really, I appreciate that, Billy. Like I tried, I get a lot of the people's anger too, of like, it's led people astray and stuff.
Yeah.
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
And I don't think he is trying to be a horrible person at all by any means, but I also do think it is important that all of us are fact checked, all of us, including me.
Yeah.
And we're accountable. And that's a good thing for all of us to do, because we're always seeking knowledge. And like, that's the point of it. It's a lifelong pursuit of knowledge plus application, and then you get wisdom.
I think that's why people were upset, because Billy's whole thing is forbidden knowledge, knowledge that is forbidden, or not the knowledge that is hidden. And if you're sincere in that quest and you come across factual evidence of Christ and you deny it because of a other prior belief about a Gnostic gospel that is proven to be false, it's disingenuous, because you're letting your bias cloud truth, which is just wrong.
And that might be, and I agree, a process. So you got to think of it like this. You got to look at we all are from where we are. Like you were just talking about the what was it? The Pope, not the Pope, but the priest that was like the alcoholic or whatever that was drinking. The saint was drinking 12 beers a night.
Yeah, 12 drinks.
And they're mad, but then a year later he's drinking 6 drinks.
Right.
So people could be judging him. You're horrible. You're drinking, but it's like, well, he's cut it down from 12 to 6. He's trying. He's getting better. So when you get this new information, it's easy for us to think of it from our mind. When you're really going out, sometimes it takes you some time to even contemplate and have. That's what's beautiful about like God, and he'll start working to transform you.
Oh yes,
but it's a process. And it's like a seed gets planted that might be like, start researching this other thing more. But what I can tell you is, when everyone comes in and starts hating and acting angry in
That
the name
doesn't
of
work.
God,
That doesn't work.
that's
Not for
throwing
someone like
stones.
Billy. No, that won't work.
It's go, and I understand the anger and everything too, but it's just
I
going
actually think
to
it'll have the reverse effect. I think it'll make him double down harder.
it will it,
If it,
it
or have
does
it
that
haven't,
to everyone.
I think
That's
it has.
that's with the opening post we
I
had with
actually
David
think that-
Goggins.
right.
That's what we were just talking about.
And
When you throw stones at everyone, it's just not a good tactic, leadership wise, to bring people
Well, I think that's what happened
to join your team.
Yeah, and I think I actually know, based off of what Billy has told me and I've heard him say in podcasts, that's what turned him away from Christianity. Is these people who are holier than thou, like being hypocrites. And Billy is a smart guy, and he was probably a very smart, witty kid.
Right.
And he probably questioned a lot of authorities, and they didn't
and-
have answers.
And
And
he
that's
grew up in a harsh.
not to give him
on
excuses.
the
but
first show.
we
Well, I'm
have
just
to
telling you as
see-
a person, if you go back and
Right, we
listen to
have
the
to
first show I
see-
did with Billy, where he shares his whole life story,
Right,
he's been through a heck of a lot of adversity, man.
sure has.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and overcame a lot. And Stephen was also, as you guys think, do Billy's followers being non-Christian? And I know we just recently did the show on Billy. That's why people like
Right,
all my
right.
shows
Everyone's
aren't.
curious. Yeah.
Excuse me. From transition, maybe not. I'm friends with. I know other people that follow him that are Christian and also Muslim. So
I would
some are
say-
more that I know are more. So I have a very good friend that's a Christian, and their wife and stuff. They think the alien stuff, and Billy's been my friend, to be honest. I don't ever watch his stuff. Like, we support each other, but I'm so busy. I got my company, I got my shows. So I don't really see I don't honestly even know all the stuff that is going on, but I have another friend that is a strong Christian, and they're like interested in, they think the Egyptian stuff and the alien technology is kind of cool and stuff. But they're not like, this is making me become an atheist or something. It's not, they're strong enough in their faith to where it like doesn't shake them.
Right.
But I know, I don't know what has been causing some of those. Love you to death, Billy, but yeah, like, you just chill out with on defense of like God and Jesus and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Like, bro,
I think that's the right thing to do.
you don't have to just freaking sit here and throw all these stones at Jesus's face. He's already died and been to hell and conquered it. And by the way, I'm always open to wisdom and knowledge. If there was another book they truly discovered that so many people found to be historically accurate, that like showed, Wesley and I were talking about this. It wasn't on the thing, but that showed it. I would want to know, because I'd be like, wait, this
Well-
challenges hold on. And I wouldn't be like, don't show that to me.
Well, that's the whole basis of his argument.
Like,
The
I'm always
problem is
seeking
he
wisdom.
thought those documents were true, and they're not. And the Dead Sea Scrolls too. That's another big one. And I don't know enough to comment on it, but
Right. I don't know enough to,
but
you
Wesley
could
sure
fact
does.
check. I think there's some of the Dead Sea Scrolls that, some of them are don't even do it. Yeah. Look, I don't know what I don't know. So I don't know crap. I've researched those before and stuff, but I don't know whether they're legit. Like, that's not what God calls us all for different purposes and different things and stuff. And that's what I thought was interesting about that. But I can tell you, it was cool to be able to see it. At least I thought, people to be able to have this like healthy conversation, to where Billy wasn't like, I hate you, Wesley. Wesley wasn't like, and I was making drama. It was like,
well, I would push back on that though, because he did it in the moment. But why not air it?
Okay, yeah, that's a different thing. But I'm just saying, I know
In the moment, he
what
was
I
very
would like
respectful.
about being able to show more stuff like that is, I like people to be able to see. off camera, Billy and I have been friends for 2 years traveling. I've had these types of talks about his beliefs and mine in a very kind and respectful way, to where we both see things differently, but we're not like, I hate you. And
Right.
I always do that to try to think like, well, maybe this can make someone see more of what I have that I don't, without being overly and then he shared some wisdom on some things that I'm like, oh, that's kind of a cool way to look at it. Didn't shift, I'm strong enough in my foundation to where I wasn't like, oh, this, it was more of like a technology thing or something else or whatever. But a lot of times news and everything just overly dramatizes the worst of the worst of people and shows this person debating that, them hating, them fighting. And it doesn't allow people to show conversations of healthy conflict.
Yeah.
Because yes, you should be having conflict. I teach this all the time with my employees, with leadership, with my company. You have to learn to have healthy conflict. You can't just avoid everything. But the key word is healthy. You do it in a respectful way.
Yes.
And from my wife's family, being from Sierra Leone, West Africa, majority of them in her country, Sierra Leone, it's like split Christian, Muslim. They don't make a big deal about it. And I'm able to go and chill out with 2 Muslims and 2 Christians. We all can talk about God in
My
a
best friend
really
is a Muslim.
respectful way.
Right.
And we're all able to pray for each other.
Yep.
And
Right.
I'm not like, don't you dare pray to your name. I'm like, thank you. Like, pray for me. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And you continue to do your, but you don't have to like this whole hating on each other thing and doing that. It doesn't work. It's just, it doesn't work.
And it's sad because Billy could be a huge component for the kingdom, right? I mean, he's got millions of followers, and who knows? I mean, God.
The story's not over yet.
The story is not over. I mean, it took me 2 long years of denying Christ and just pushing him away out of pure fear.
Are you human or AI? Rock says.
I did not want to become a Christian.
Sorry, Anton. Anton's AI. I'm human. Go ahead.
I just didn't want to become a Christian for all the reasons I think anybody who's not a Christian wouldn't want to become a Christian. Like judgment, all these things, hypocritical church, all these things from the outside, you just don't fully, it's not very attractive always. And, a lot of Christians thinking like, oh, you got to be broke and things you alluded to. And that kept me away from Christianity. And I also thought like, I have to forget what verse it is, but saying, the only way you get to the Father is through me. Jesus saying that. I just could not logically comprehend that.
Because people think that, and I get it until you get it deeper, that it's like a gateway.
Well, you have to have
until you understand it's like another entity of like,
it's an encounter.
It's not a roadblock. It's like really empower. When you learn more and more,
it's not
you
a
don't need
boundary
to
to
go
keep
through
you-
any other human being. Because in the old, the high priest started saying, they used to start saying, you can't be forgiven and stuff without going through me, the human.
Right.
And Jesus was like, you don't need to do that anymore.
Well, there's still that is still held up in the Catholic and Orthodox churches.
Yeah, I don't agree with it. I mean, I'll tell you 100%. I love you to death. I don't need any human being. I'll accept their counsel, but when it comes to my relationship with God, I don't need any human being. They don't have anything. They can give me more wisdom and counsel. I don't need them to connect to God.
Right. And there's a lot of
as far as a roadblock. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I
think
need them to give me wisdom and stuff. So don't get me wrong on that.
Yeah, I think there's.
Do you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying, and I think I practice Orthodox Christianity, so it's strict in a way, but I would say, I think there is beauty in somebody who has dedicated their entire life to Jesus and God and is in a way a counselor, if you are a spiritual counselor. I believe Jesus is in confession, and I've had multiple times where I've had really powerful experiences in confession where I'm like, whoa, like that was.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there's
But there's
anything wrong with that.
Right. And
I'm just saying, like, if that works, if that helps
Right,
you be better, like, that's amazing. It's when
for me, yeah.
people say, if you don't do confession, you can't be. It's like, no, I can just pray directly to God and be forgiven.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
but
Everyone had like
if doing that helps bring you closer to God, like,
Right.
go for it.
Well, and here's
do
why.
you get what I'm saying?
Here's why. That
But it
God,
doesn't mean everyone has to do it that way.
I agree, but I also would push back and say there's a level of humility that takes for me. Like,
It's like being held accountable. That makes sense.
but also just saying it to another person, it's like shit. Like, you know, I did some. I
You
did
just
some
said
messed
the
up-
SH
I
word,
did
so you're
some
already
messed
going to
up
hell.
things. I've done some messed up things in my life, and I gotta also say this to another person. And again, you gotta like. I won't say
No,
there
so I
shouldn't
do
be-
agree. Iron sharpens iron. So just like
Yeah, and I think
actually I agree with you.
God
Like
is
I
very
had a
close
friend,
to
like
the
when I was
humble.
looking at porn, that I would
Right.
I would text him.
Right, and I think
I even had one, I started PayPaling him
yeah.
$5 every, and it held me accountable, and it was embarrassing. And there was times where I was like, dude, you just made $50 off. I even leveled it up to where I started paying. But this was me wanting to be better more and more too. So I do agree. Iron sharpens iron. That's
Yeah,
about getting counts. But
Yeah.
there's not only one way.
No,
It's
there's
when
not.
people say there's only one way to, like, that's where people start pushing back. Like,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of denominations in Christianity, right? The thing I like about Orthodoxy and Catholicism is that they have a system. From my perspective, again, I'm new to all this. Please don't critique me, but from what I can see is there's a system of salvation in a way. And I know those words are kind of charged, and like we got to be cautious of like good works per se don't get us into heaven.
right.
But
Like
for
you
the
can
person,
do 1,000
the person like
Hail
me-
Marys or whatever, but still
Right.
not be a
Right,
good person.
exactly. Like I think
I don't know
the
what the
sacraments
proper
are
terminology is.
personally, I think they're beautiful because for me, it gives me, first of all, I feel the difference. And secondly, there's like a system of worship that for me, in my journey of like getting into all of these other spiritual practices that didn't give me what I needed, this is like, okay, this feels at home. This feels safe. There's a system here, and I have people I can trust that know more than me in this topic. So I am going to trust them, and I'm going to stop trying to do it my way
Right.
and go off what they say. And that for me has been the most
But
like,
let me say one more thing
beautiful
on that.
thing.
100% beautiful.
Yeah,
Also know they're still human.
they are.
So what I've seen,
Right, because
I
that
knew
can go really
someone I
wrong.
knew
You know,
that
there's a lot of weird stuff in the Catholic Church.
No,
that's happened.
They can be. I've seen some people put the person in the church on a pedestal
Yeah,
and idolize them.
yeah, that's a
and
bad road.
I've seen them think because they know something here, they know everything everywhere.
Yeah, no.
And I've seen them unfortunately use that and get great advice in one area and then be like, but he said to do this with my kids, but this person has never had kids in his life.
Right.
So it's like, no, I would, if I'm going to I've raised 5 kids. I love you all to death. You can read all the books you want on kids, until you've had kids and raised them and been through it and shown me fruits.
Yep.
I don't really, it's just knowledge. It's not like wisdom. It's a different thing. You can give wisdom and give good core values, of course.
That was always something I didn't like about Catholicism, is that the priest can't get married. All right, I think there is some exceptions. With Orthodoxy, I will say.
That's what's sweet. Yeah, it's
Well,
like,
but-
where did that verse get pulled?
Well, no, because
from?
Christ talks about how, you know, the church is his body and it's also like his wife in a way.
Right, but
So the priests are married to again, I'm so junior at all of this,
I
but the priests are supposed to be married to the church, like Christ, like I think there's a verse about like love your wife like Christ loves the church or something to that effect. So priests have to, like, a Catholic priest, I believe, but in Orthodoxy, I don't know the difference. But
isn't
my
it weird
priest
how
has like
all
5
these
kids.
different I know it's weird how there's all these different branches of the same thing. I just feel like God's in heaven, like, oh my God.
Yeah, I think he's
like,
absolutely despises.
I don't even think. I think he's just like, I
You
didn't
guys are
mean.
missing the point.
I think he's just like, oh God, I didn't mean that you had to not eat meat on Tuesday and jump in the air 4 times on Thursday to be saved. He's like, I wasn't actually even being literal. I was just being like, be a good person the way Jesus is. But
well,
if it works for you and brings you closer to God,
for me,
it makes you a better person.
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful thing as long as people don't start. What happens is we start getting divided when we're like actually all doing the same mission of being like, I go and do this, and we believe you're supposed to do the Hail Mary thing. I don't think we're supposed to. It's like at the end of the day, God's like, oh my God, that's not even what I'm saying is the most important thing. It's like, what are you going out and doing in your life and living as a person? Are you like living the sermon or not? Meanwhile, people will argue about this for the rest of their life. They could be investing that energy into literally living the sermon, living their purpose, going after the beautiful dreams that God has given each of us individually to pursue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
thanks, Joy.
I see the ad. What does that mean?
Oh, I just saw Wells. Oh, I thought it said well said.
Oh, maybe that is what it meant to say.
It's funny. I've had people, I'm not saying Joy's a hater. I've had comments that I realized someone they were writing something really mean, and I just saw it as a totally different way. It's nice. So I'm like, awesome, thanks. I hope you have an amazing day. And then someone else sent me
confirmation
like,
bias.
Did
but
you
in a
see?
positive way.
I'm like, oh man, oh well.
I thought it said something else.
You know what?
Yeah, but
who cares?
Back to the point, I think everyone's at a different level in their faith and their journey with Christ, and even all religions and spirituality, whatever. For me, I like the system. I like the process that's worked for me. Because again, I tried to do it my own way and I got really lost. And I think the Bible is the opposite of restricting. I think it gives you boundaries.
It's empowering.
Yeah, it gives you boundaries to stay spiritually safe and also live like a good and moral life. Like that's the goal. It's not here to restrict you in any way. Like
it's
and
not
that was
to,
one thing about the Bible I used
to keep
think.
you broke.
Right.
By the way, it's not saying. By the way, it says like
I give away like.
What does it say about debt? Like debt. It basically says like debt is like slavery. Don't be like a slave to debt or something. It says. See,
we can look
I've
it
been
up.
a Christian all these years. I don't claim to. And by the way, when someone's like, "No, here's what the verse really says," I'll be like, "You're 100% right." I'm not. The title of this show, when we really air the edited version, should be, remember this, Anton, you're entitled to your own opinions, but not your own facts.
That's fire.
And by the way, that's not even my quote. So whoever said that quote, credit to that person too. I've heard it before. That needs to be the title of the show when we actually air it. I'm so tired.
Been a long day.
Well, you can't make a video about you. Joy said,
what questions do you guys have?
Can you make a video about not a billion, but a trillion? Oh, you're talking about that one. That's awesome. We
should take some questions.
The one, post a question about but I have to comment on that video that we did of Scrooge showing what $1 billion is.
Oh yeah.
And it blew my mind how and that was from like 1978 compared to $1 million. How if you were to stretch out every like a single dollar bill, like not stack them, but like put it flat, it would like go around the earth like 3 times or something. It was crazy how much it was compared to $1 million. And what she's saying is do an updated one about $1 trillion. And I was thinking it's mind blowing how much $1 million is compared to $1 billion.
Yeah,
like
it's 2 different universes.
Such a difference. And we were talking about this earlier in the show.
I can't.
You can be a billionaire. When I'm a billionaire, I always say, I'm going to help a lot more people. I still believe in God. I'm still a Christian. People quote me, money's the root of all evil. I'll be able to show a million other examples of when people have been blessed in abundance and kings, and God's blessed them for 20-something generations to come. It just magnifies more of who you are as a person. Just to sum that up, in my own beliefs, not my beliefs.
You just can't.
You just don't worship money. I won't wake up praying whether or not when I have $1 billion, if I lose it all, either way, I still have God. And that's the foundation of my why of everything. So I can lose $1 million, $1 trillion. I don't, I can never lose God. That's the most important thing. That's the foundation of everything in my life. That's where my whole thing starts from. But you're able to be a billionaire with good core values and help more people. It's possible. I'll show you guys when it happens.
Yeah. And I think, it's like, I think it all comes down to what is
Four times.
What
Yeah,
is the
Joey, you're right.
what is the context? Because if you're super rich and you only give a little, but your little is like 1 million compared to somebody who has no money and they only make like $1,000 a year, let's just say, like they're completely poor and they give away $5, that's a lot compared to somebody who has like 50 million and giving away $1 million. It's like, that's nothing. So it's contextual.
Of course.
It's contextual. And I think
it's what's in your heart.
it's what's in your heart, right? Because, I think there's a story in the Bible where there's like this poor woman and she gives everything she has, and Jesus, blesses her and says she'll be in heaven.
Well, he's
forget
like,
the story.
all these people had nothing,
Right.
or all this
You
money,
have everything.
and she had nothing.
She had nothing and she gave it freely.
And by the way, this is what's beautiful. God created us all differently on purpose.
Yes.
My purpose isn't your purpose. I don't remember anyone asking how much Mother Teresa had in her bank account. Do you?
No.
But
Mother Teresa was awesome.
look how much impact she had on the world.
Yeah, I was just watching
My
something
mission,
about her recently.
when I'm doing things for our people with disabilities, I have the show. When I'm a billionaire for my purpose, I'm going to use that to help a lot more people for my purpose.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that's what everyone has to do. We talk about this all the time. We're both business owners. The word entrepreneur that's so played out
Right.
to where that got so overly, everyone should be, I'm like, it's great, but it's really hard and it sucks, and you totally have to be wired a certain way.
Yeah, most people
to do it.
aren't fit for the job.
And that's so okay if you're
Just
not.
like some
There's
people
so many
aren't
amazing.
able-
I have so many people on my team that are
right.
kicking butt, living their purpose, doing so many incredible things in their life, and we're all wired differently.
Everyone's got their own unique purpose, right? Nobody can tell you what's
I'm
right
in the
or
Philippines.
wrong.
What's up? Shout out to the Philippines.
And I look at it like sisters and nuns, I believe. I think sisters, I could be totally wrong. I think sisters go out into the world and do good acts, and nuns pray for the world. And neither is right or wrong, I think it's just where is your purpose rooted in God, and God just doesn't mean you have to pray. I mean, you should pray, but like I would say what you're doing with people with developmental disabilities is God's work in my eyes. Sure.
Right. And I think, and I pray, so when we were talking about, Joy was asking what we were talking about from the Philippines too. What's up? Thank you for being here. Oh man, with that time difference.
It's probably early for them.
I think it's like 4 a.m.
No
What time is it in the Philippines? I've been to the Philippines.
Let's find out. In Philippines.
I have traveled, man, when we went
11
time
a.m.
to Bali. Oh, okay, my bad. It was right.
No, it's 4 a.m.
See, you're entitled to your own opinions, not your own facts. When Anton tells me it's 11 a.m., I've traveled to the Philippines. Don't ever quit. The time zone says it's 11 a.m. I'm wrong. He's right. Like, that's what people need. Don't do that. Like, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Chill out. It's okay.
Right.
Like, the time zone was proven. You don't have to be like.
We should be able to honor facts, even if documents that are fraudulent disagree with them.
But anyway, yeah, it's 11 a.m. I guess. Yeah, that's right, Joy. In the Philippines. Man, I remember when we went to Bali, just going randomly off subject. I think we went back in time a day. It's either 12 hours ahead or 12 hours behind. But I remember one time when we traveled, I'm like, whoa, I just got a day younger. And then I remember one time traveling where it was a day in the future. And I'm like, I just freaking lost it. I just traveled through time. It's crazy when you really travel across the world.
Yeah, Australia.
Oh, dude,
Asia.
we flew through Australia to go to
tough.
Bali.
Oh, wow.
Dude, Bali was one of the longest. I've been to Sierra Leone, through Australia,
What
Thailand.
questions do you guys have? Put in some questions to the chat.
Bali was a far flight.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It was so
I've
beautiful
never
and
been to
amazing.
Asia.
By the way, some of the kindest people I met were in Bali. They're
Wow.
predominantly Buddhist there.
Really?
Yep. And so
Is it?
yep.
Wow.
So I wasn't sitting there, something similar to Buddhism. It maybe you can look it up. I was not sitting. So we had like a chef and stuff that was there at our place. They were so nice and cool and kind. I had good conversations with them about God, and then they shared their beliefs of Buddhism or
Yeah.
Hinduism, and I wasn't like and my wife and I weren't like, how dare you have that? We were like, oh, that's cool. That's what makes, and by having those things in a loving way, it like helps connect you more. Well, when we left there, out of my own heart, I didn't air this on social media. I tipped the cook and stuff. They even took us to their house. They lived in a
Wow.
little place there.
Beautiful.
A little place. A real little place
Yeah.
with
sure.
kids. I tipped him enough to pay for about a year's worth of their rent.
Wow.
Now, I didn't have to preach down their throat and say, I'm a Christian, I believe in God, but this is what I'm talking about. When you can do stuff and do more and help more people, some would be like, you shouldn't be giving that if they believe. I did that out of the goodness of my heart.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
if they find out that I'm a Christian and they have other people stay there and they're like, oh man, those people, look
Right.
at what that person did. That's
Plant a seed.
can plant a seed.
I think
Like something's different about this person than that. I didn't need to. This is the first time I've talked.
Right.
I do this stuff all the time
Right.
out of that's why I keep saying, when I'm a billionaire, I'm going to help more people. When I'm a billionaire, I would have bought that dude a house that day.
Right.
It would be amazing.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
Go
story,
to my country
story
because
you
I got to.
shared about your Jewish coworker.
Yeah, let us know if you guys have any questions too. Joy, what's up? We've been just talking about everything, but different religions and the relationship you may or may not have with God, and how some people can be like overly judgmental and they can like worship their religion over like their relationship with God and their love, and they can start being really mean.
Yeah,
like
they
really
sure can be.
really mean.
Yeah, and the Bible talks about too, like if you
Tanny Gar, who are you? That's the question. I'm Mark Minard, and this is Anton.
Yeah, Ephesians talks
Who are
about
you?
waste no time discussing what good or evil is, or something, expose it, something like that. But I think a lot of the Christians who saw the Billy thing feel like you as a host have a responsibility, and that's what they feel. And
Right, and that's why I did the
wouldn't
response show.
Right.
And
you didn't
one
have
of my
to do
core
that.
values is my word. And
Yeah.
when I gave my word
I love that about you. You're not
to
willing
him,
to bend.
but also they have other contractual obligations, and
Allegedly.
well, right, but
Right. Whatever.
right
We gotta
now
take
it's
their word.
that.
Yeah.
So I get it, but it's easy to until you this is something that I had in my book, The Story of You, shameless plug. Until you judge my journey, walk a mile in my mindset. It's really easy to see everything in black and white, and I get it. I've done it before. Like now, from owning a company for 18 years, I used to look at the owners of companies and think, oh, must be nice. They just go on the golf course every day, blah, blah, blah. Then I've learned, holy crap, no, actually, you have to pretty much work harder than anyone else when you're the owner to build your company up behind the scenes. With having a show, with having a podcast, with being honored to be at different levels, to know different celebrities, famous people. it's easy to see everything as black and white, but things can be more complicated than they are. And I totally get what everyone was saying with that, but that was why I didn't have to make any response video. We could have just never said anything about it.
Right.
I could have just
Show no
sent I could
clips.
have just sent Wesley a text message at the end and saying we're not going to air it with no explanation whatsoever. I
Literally.
could have done that. But
Truth.
my character wouldn't allow me. I called Wesley for like an hour and explained to him in depth everything.
Mm.
He made a post when people started mentioning me, calling him a liar. I jumped in. I said, yes, I didn't deny that it happened ever. I could have just stood back and said nothing. I said, I won't allow, Billy's my friend, but I won't allow people to say Wesley's a liar when he's not.
No.
I would not do that. Then I made the response video, which I didn't have to do. And I'm not justifying. I understand all the sides of this, but I'm just saying I made that out of my own something. I had to get something out there. And I also wanted people to know that Wesley wasn't just making this up to
Right.
show some type of proof without airing the whole thing as of now, because they're in a contractual obligation. I've been told. I totally get it. And I understand all that with everyone. And we'll continue to see where all that goes. I continue to keep doing what we're doing with future shows. We have so many listeners from all over the world that like I did a show on building confidence, on different things with branching out in your finances, not in a stupid, cheesy way. I've had people ask me, we had someone ask from India, and I actually would love for you. This is totally going off a different thing, but while you're here with your wisdom, I thank you, by the way, all of you that have been subscribing and commenting and just talking about all this that helps you. Like that's why we're here at
Yeah, it's awesome.
10 at night on Saturday. Jeez.
Yep.
But I had quite a few people actually from India, and I hope you guys watch this or wherever you are too, but they were talking about they want to do something with business, with purpose, and they're struggling because in their wherever they are, they don't really have access to mentors or maybe access to what's the word that I'm looking for?
School.
When you have not even school, but like resources.
Yeah.
And they were asking, what are some things I could do? Since you do so much with social media, with
Yeah,
tons of stuff with that,
I've hired
what are
so
some
many
some
people.
how like actual practical, not fake, like
Yeah.
don't give up on your, like I get that, but like literally if someone's in another country, I know you
Yeah.
can't 100% know this, but what is something they could like actually like some steps they could take to
Yeah. Well,
to do something to kind of like have
er,
make some revenue.
yeah, for sure. Well, early in my business, I hired tons. I mean, I've paid tens of thousands of dollars to employees, contractors overseas, India, Bangladesh.
So how do they get
Um,
found? Like what
so-
steps would they take?
Yeah, I mean, well, a lot of there's a lot of agencies in like the Philippines, for example, that hire, like my friend Trav Bell. They have a company called T-Bell.
So that's a credible.
It's a real company. Yeah, it's my good friends. They employ hundreds of Philippine people to work for companies in America, and they get paid very well. And it's a great business. They helped me hire my first 2 employees, and
Oh, that's
those
cool.
employees worked for me for years, and I mean, the money I would pay them would be equivalent to like 6 figures, our money.
Right.
And for an American, this is nice for a small business because
You're
cash
struggling
flow is
just
not
to have
always
cash flow.
like in the beginning. But even now, I have people in Africa that work for me. I have people all over the world, which is really cool because they do great work and they're cheap. But it's not unethical because our cheap relative to their cheap is 2 very different worlds. Our cheap is like richness to them, or at least, close to it. So My
But
advice
this
would
is
be
opportunity of like, what are some things I
right,
can
right, right.
what
So
what if
my
they don't
advice
have
would be
access
to have a
to
skill, learn a skill,
okay, so
learn a skill, like especially media, like
okay,
video
so if they don't
editing,
have college, how? Like
YouTube.
that's what I was just gonna say.
Yeah, YouTube. I mean, that's how I
It's
mean, that's
free.
how I learned.
I mean, like
I
this
didn't go to
show,
any
it's
college.
free.
Right. I pretty much am a high school dropout, not literally, but pretty much. And my skill was my first skill was one of them was video editing, and I learned that literally through YouTube trials. Um
Bring your iPhone or iPad to the Philippines.
yeah, so I think it's the practical learn a skill and get good at that skill. And you can go to something called upwork.com and post your work there and get upwork.com.
Upwork.com. So learn a skill which you can learn like on YouTube or something if you're somewhere else.
Yeah.
Even if it's not what you want to do forever, by the way, because people ask me too, like, how do I find my purpose? I'm like, it's not something that you just like, you just start doing
Yeah,
something,
I don't think
and
you
you keep
find
getting
your
better at things,
purpose.
and along the way, more things start
I
opening
think I
up. You know what I mean? But it's
yeah.
like
I think there's like
start doing something versus
start
nothing,
something. You gotta
because
just start.
a
And
year
one
from
thing will
now,
lead to
a year
another
is still
thing.
gonna go by.
Right. I thought I was gonna be a video editor forever. Like, you just gotta start. And there's nothing wrong with being a video editor forever, but you take the jump and the purpose is revealed to you. And then like for me, if it's rooted in something spiritual, God usually intervenes and there's something like higher than what you even thought. And that's kind of where I'm at now. And that's where you're at, So
And there's
you
always
gotta
different
start. And there's
levels.
always different levels and there's always gonna be more levels. And I think the biggest thing is like don't get comfortable. Keep going and push yourself. Push yourself. It's important.
I didn't know. I tell people this all the time when they ask. I even tell my kids when they're like overly, I don't know what to major in. I'm like, I never knew that I was going to open my own. Some people like you, like you're like, dude, I started having this entrepreneurial spirit in my teens. I always
16.
worked hard. I worked at Taco Bell at age 15.
Yeah, that was
I
just
didn't
grace.
even know. So I didn't even know
Out of grace.
owning a business was a thing.
Yeah.
Till I saw my brother have his own towel company when I was like 20 something. My half brother, that's a whole other story.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, wait, you can have your own. So that seed got planted by seeing it
Yes.
in me. But I always thought differently than everyone else. I always thought outside of the box. I always knew I was going to do something, or I was like, what's wrong with me? I'm not like all these other students. So I always knew I was like wired differently for different things.
Yeah, me too.
But I didn't even, then when I found out it was a thing, I didn't know that was going to lead to me opening my company for people. Doing a podcast. I never even wanted to speak in public.
200 almost
I dropped
1,000 subscribers, 185K.
That's awesome. Thank you. Keep subscribing, you guys. Let's hit 200,000. That's amazing.
Let's go. Yeah, by the end of the year, let's
That's
go.
freaking crazy.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of factors to, and again, some people aren't even supposed to be entrepreneurs. Like, there's no right or wrong here. I think you kind of know though if you are called. Like for me, it was 16. Like, I'm grateful for my dad because he planted those seeds in my head. He wasn't an entrepreneur, very normal working people. He was a UPS man, and he just kind of put it in my head at a young age, like, hey, if you want to break out of the status quo, you got to become a business owner. So,
oh really?
Yeah, he used to listen to like Tony Robbins and all these guys when I was super young. So he would put stuff in my head, and then I, thankfully by grace again, just God kind of stepping in. There was some like mentors I gained at a young age, and they were young guys crushing it in business, and that was the rest of that. And like I always knew that I wasn't meant to go to school in college. Like I literally cheated. When I say I cheated on every test, I cheated on every single test, dude. The people next to me in my classes hated me. I was so annoying. I'd be like, "Can I get your test?"
So it was
like
just
they would give me their test, and I just literally, dude,
I could do a whole thing. So it was, you were just like, I just need to finish this.
Oh yeah,
because this like doesn't dictate my destiny.
Yeah, and I mean, I was already.
And now you're an incredibly successful like business owner at age 29.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say incredibly successful. I mean, I guess it depends on what you're measuring. I used to say like I'm not successful. I don't believe that. Like I actually believe
I mean, like for
I'm
someone
successful.
that would have been considered like uh, you're doing this on the status quo that makes you think
Yeah.
if you're not, because school only teaches to one type of learning style.
Yeah, dude, I
So it's like
cannot
that's great if that's
regurgitate
you.
information and learn it.
Well, it's like
That wasn't
trying
me,
to teach a fish to climb up a tree.
right?
If I'm a like some if I'm a fish, like teach me how to swim better in the water.
Right. I don't
Like
wanna
we're
be a
not all
fish.
the same. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So school does that all the same. Joy, I see you. You're saying, can you listen to me? Yeah, we love you. You're amazing. I've been reading the comments. I you know, it's almost 11:11.
Holy shit, Bitcoin's almost at 80,000.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh man,
That's because
I have a limit sell on at 80,000 for some.
I would pull that off.
Mm-mm.
Not financial advice. No, you're smarter than I am
So
in that category.
I'm putting some, not financial advice either, in TLT. It's so
Yeah,
funny.
Ethereum's
I
went
wouldn't
up
have
too.
even been able to have this conversation. I've learned so much about stocks and stuff. Let me know if you guys have any questions on that for in the future. By the way,
Stonks.
how did I learn tons about stocks?
Stonks.
During COVID, I started getting obsessed with YouTube videos, watching them all the time. People
Wow.
are asking, how do you learn? I still, next thing I knew, like 4 hours a day, I'm consuming this stuff.
Wow.
Now, I'm still constantly learning, but I've been able to utilize it to like be my own bank. I use stocks to be my own bank and give my company a loan from myself to purchase a recent property, which I didn't even know would have been possible.
Yep.
I've lost money from Bitcoin. I've made money from Bitcoin. I've
Wanna know
learned
when I
how to
bought Bitcoin?
diversify, how to hedge, how to put. Right now, I've got some money in TLT, which is the U.S. Treasury. Some people, to me, right now, if I would have been hearing me, I would have turned this off because I'd be like, I
What are
have
you
no
talking
idea what
about?
you're talking about.
Yeah.
This goes to show you can learn anything if you're willing to. I'm the guy that was told I was stupid in school.
Right.
Now I'm like, oh, I want to hedge my portfolio for if interest rates go down, this treasury is going to go up with a yield, and it's a pretty safe bet. Nothing's guaranteed. I have a multitude of stocks. What did you buy Bitcoin at though?
2016. Oh, I don't even know.
It's 2016.
That's when I bought Bitcoin. Yeah.
Whoa, bro.
Yeah. I mean,
Wasn't it like $200 or something?
No. It was thousands. I don't even remember. But then I
Wow.
bought it. I bought it again. So I went like I had like a weird like psychotic episode type thing where not literally psychotic.
How
But-
much did you buy, just real quick?
Oh, like it was like $500. But I mean that has turned into crazy amounts.
Right.
But it was awesome. But anyways,
So have you not ever sold it?
no, I've never ever sold my Bitcoin.
Yes,
I've leveraged
some of my
it.
stuff I
I've
sold
done-
to
I've done
buy
some
one of
smart
our
stuff.
one of the thing for Dreamshine,
So-
but it was for the right reasons.
So I did the same, but I didn't sell. I leveraged it.
I've done that too.
So me and my cousin bought a dollar store in real estate. Or yeah, in not in real estate.
like you took like a margin loan out against your-
Yeah, like a really because I didn't want to use my own cash, and dude, that was awesome because we bought this dollar store in Texas.
It can
and
just
then-
suck if it plummets.
Oh yeah, it was a risk.
Yeah, yeah.
But
yeah.
I always had faith in Bitcoin, still do, and yeah, you know, I bought a ton. I was going crazy on my friends, dude. I was like, because I saw it so clear. I was
Really?
like, oh, I saw it so
I've never
clear.
heard you. I've known you for how long now? I don't even think I've had
3
heard
years.
you talk about this.
Yeah,
with
we've
me.
never really talked a lot about investing. I mean, I'm no expert by any means, but I just saw like I did like right before COVID, dude. I was telling my girlfriend, I'm like, I'm putting everything I got in Bitcoin.
Really?
Yeah, she's like, you're crazy. I'm like, I'm calling all my friends. I'm like, bro, do it. I see it. I see it.
Dude,
I see
who
it."
would have guessed
I
that
did it,
the
bro.
presidents and stuff would be talking about it as part of the election,
That's what I'm saying. It's an interesting
and
time.
that it became, to BlackRock and stuff to where you can buy. I mean, dude, they're buying it up like crazy. That's a whole other thing. I don't know if that's good or bad.
Yeah, and some people think it's a psyop. Like some people think it's China. I mean, there's a lot of theories, but hey, I mean, who gives a shit? It's investing, right? There's always risk.
If you can, exactly, don't put everything in that if you lose it, it'll bankrupt you.
Yeah, because I mean, I made that. I lost like over probably like almost $100,000 in NFTs and shit.
But you learn from it.
I sure did.
It sucks, but
I sure did.
That's some things you just got to learn
Me,
by the
James,
suck.
and a buddy of mine all went down.
I mean, dude, for how many wins I've had in business, I've
No.
had so many stupid losses.
Part of the game.
But you just like this whole show we're kind of talking about, when you screw up or learn, it's like, what do you do?
Yes.
Not if, but when that happens.
Yes.
You can get down in a hole and say,
keep moving,
I'll never
man.
move. I'll never
If
do.
you're going through hell, keep going.
You keep going.
That's-
Winston Churchill.
That's the thing.
I got him right back there. I hit my head. Never give up. But yeah, you learn from stuff.
Yeah,
you get
sure
wisdom.
do.
It doesn't mean it doesn't suck.
No.
I go through pity parties. I just don't stay at them as long anymore. I'm like, I'm going to go here and complain for like 15 minutes, get it out of my system,
Right. Then go work out.
then work out. Then I'm going to keep moving on.
Right.
And I'm going to look at, like, our man, you and I were talking about something even recently, and Jocko Williams.
Oh yeah.
We got to have
Good.
that pop in on this show.
Good.
I just think of that. If you guys look up Jocko Williams, good, like motivation and everything, he's like, lost all your resources. Good. More time to train and figure out how to get other resources.
I love it.
Like, went bankrupt.
Girlfriend broke up with you.
Good. Yeah. None of us can say it like his voice. He's like, more time to get better, get stronger. Man, I wish I could do an impression of that dude's voice.
Jocko's
He is someone I'm surprised I haven't personally met him yet. We know so many similar people. He's someone I believe to be an example of someone that's a famous public figure, successful, has a wife, has children, is a man of faith.
Is he?
Yeah.
Oh wow. That makes a lot of sense.
I
mean,
think so. Maybe
he-
ask ChatGPT.
He embodies
But
a lot of Christian
he doesn't
values,
openly
for sure.
preach down people's throats either. But from people I know, he's someone that I believe behind the scenes is a good man of character from what you see on the front lines too.
Right.
I don't personally know him as of yet, but he seems to be someone of that. But anyway, yeah, his whole good thing. We had a crappy situation, and I was going through a struggle, and I remember then I vent to you. There's like a few people you got to have that you can just get stuff out to. But then at the end of it, I'm like, but then I think, like Jocko says, like, good. This just gives me a chance to be able to use this to train more, to come back better, and to be able to like prepare with more cerebral weaponry. I didn't say it that eloquently to you, I don't think, in the moment, but that was basically, are you looking up if Jocko Williams believes in God?
Yeah. It's he doesn't. He believes in something, but he doesn't specify. And he says, this is an interesting case for God. This is actually what.
Yeah, let him talk about Joy. We see your messages. I hope you have a great night.
Yeah,
I don't understand exactly, but I hope you have an amazing night. We see you in the Philippines. I don't know why it's not on Facebook Live, but blessings, and I hope you have actually a great day there. But we see you and we love you. Go ahead, Anton.
Well, he was saying that when you're overseas fighting war, like, you see pure evil. And, that's a good case for God, actually, in a weird way. Like, that's actually part of what brought me to Christ specifically.
Explain.
Oh, I can't. It's too deep.
Well, because what you just said is so So, Jocko Williams saying. So
let me explain.
Say you clip that.
Right.
Jocko Williams said when he was in war, he saw pure evil. That's a good case for God. Anyone, anyone that doesn't want to believe in God is going to pull that clip and be like, "See how crazy these freaking Christians."
Well, think about it like this.
I mean, you're entitled to your own opinions, man. Just not your own facts, brother. No,
so think about it like
get
this.
what
If
you're
there's
saying,
pure
but please
evil,
break that down more.
If there's pure evil, there has to be pure goodness. So the opposite, the antithesis of evil is God. and Christ specifically. That's how I see it. You
When-
can't have light without dark.
So when he saw pure evil,
Right. He's saying
he
that.
also saw humans do some of the. So I heard him talk one time on a show saying, with the terrors like in the horror, brought men and women to come out and stand up and do some of the most beautiful and glorious things
Right. He
of,
says
of goodness.
right, and that's
But
exactly
it
what he
took
said.
that horrible evil to bring out
Yes.
that goodness of people to fight back. And he's like, I saw people do some of the
Sacrifice.
most courageous,
Right,
amazing
right.
things
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
amidst that.
Right, sacrifice
that
their
evil.
life for somebody else. For example, like somebody gets shot and they go on the battlefield to save them. Like he says, like that's not human nature. You know, that's transcendent of the human animal, and that speaks to the.
Does he talk about God? I
to-
swear I've heard him talk.
This
about
is
God.
quoting him, and this is only from one interview. So you know,
Chat GPT. Does Jocko Williams believe in God?
yeah, I mean, I'm sure he does. I'm sure he does. He believes in something clearly. So you know, I think like if you really look at things from like the laws of energy,
And I
even,
love him. By the way, if he doesn't, he's someone that I would say
does
is someone that's closer to God without even.
right his heart.
He seems like a dude of solid character. And,
Sure
and that's kind of what we were saying on the show. People are so quick to judge and hate. And it's like,
Right, stupid.
this dude's living the sermon. His show is helping so many people, bro. So
Oh my
many of the
God, yeah.
soldiers with so many people listen to that, and he doesn't get on there and be like, be a horrible. He talks about like being a better husband, taking care of yourself, having integrity, having character, how to lead, how real leaders they go out on the front lines themselves and
Right.
lead by example.
Right.
All the good characteristics of what a human should be.
Yeah, and I think anybody who's serving in the military, I mean, whether they know it or not, they are deeply rooted in something beautiful. You know, to sacrifice your life for the freedom of a nation is pretty incredible. I mean, that's God, right? I mean, that is godly for sure. That's, I mean, so I don't know. Like, if there was a draft and I got drafted, I mean, I would definitely feel some type of way.
If you believed in it, if you believed in the mission of what you're
Fighting for. Yeah.
So like if I was in like North Korea
Yeah.
and I got drafted,
They
well,
say
they
there's
don't have a
there's
choice.
no atheist in a foxhole. My stepdad told me that. He's a vet.
That's a very good point. That's such a great quote. That's so true. It's like when you and like as we're wrapping up or whatever too. One thing I've always
Wow,
loved
2 hours.
about
Holy
religion, I know
shit.
I had no idea. Thank you guys all for joining on here. Was when C.S. Lewis talks about used to be an atheist, taught at Oxford, wrote the Narnia books later on, was friends with J.R.R. Tolkien, author of Lord of the Ring, all the Lord of the Rings and stuff. He believed in God. C.S. Lewis didn't. C.S. Lewis went on to become profoundly, deeply studying the Bible, went from an atheist to a Christian. Some of his stuff is so deep, you have to read it like 3 times to understand. I've even had to look his words up like literally in the dictionary. But anyway, deep, super deep guy. But he has, he says something on the terms of like, if I was a betting man, kind of like the dude in the foxhole, and it came down to like believing in God or not believing in God, I would rather like throw the dice and roll it that there is a God and be right and I die and like go to heaven than be wrong and not be following worshiping and like die and go to hell if I'm a betting man, versus if there's not a God and I just die and go to like nothingness. If I'm a betting man, like I want to bet on the God side. He's like,
Yeah.
it just makes it, the odds are just like, it just makes more sense.
I like it. It's
He
a
says
good-
it, by the way,
and there's a good quote
I just
from him.
paraphrase
Right,
that,
right.
and probably the C.S. Lewis right now is
And-
looking down
and
heaven
here,
like, Mark,
I'll help
bro,
you.
you just freaking did the worst job
Let me help you.
of reiterating that.
Christianity, if false, is of no importance. If it is true, though, of infinite importance. The only thing it cannot be is moderately important.
That's much more C.S. Lewis
That's
sounding.
so solid. That's yeah. I mean, that's the thing, you know. Like if Jesus is the way, the truth, the life, no one comes to the Father except through him. Holy moly, if that's true. And I believe it is after
But people
Oh my
don't
God,
realize
it's
it's
crazy.
empowering. It's not.
It is empowering and it's also terrifying.
But it's beautiful. People.
But it's terrifying.
People. But all
in a
of the people
beautiful
that
way.
think of it in a different way, they think it's this really limiting.
Well, it is a narrow path in a way.
But it's such an open path because it basically says you don't need any other human being anymore.
Yeah.
You've got direct access to God through me now.
Yeah.
Because I died.
Right.
Now you can just accept. You got God, the Holy Spirit. You connect directly to God. You don't have to go through all these other gatekeepers and stuff.
Yep.
To have that access. So in that sense, it's really empowering.
Yeah. Matthew 7:13 through 14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only few find it. And again, I don't think that's a limiting statement and one to put fear in you. I think it's the opposite. It's like turn towards Jesus and let him in and turn away from sin and live a life that is in contribution to something greater.
And try your best. You're still going to screw up.
You're going to sin. You're going to mess up. Where we are.
But keep trying to be a better
We're
version
sinners.
of you.
We're sinners, and
that's a good core value that people should always have anyway. Like keep being a better version of who you were a year ago. When people are like, "You've changed," I'm like, "I better have."
Compliment, right?
I don't want to be the same leader I was 5 years ago. I don't want to be the same husband I was 5 years ago. I want to continually be being a better version.
Yeah.
Do I screw up? Absolutely.
Every day.
But I continually try my best to learn and grow from that.
Amen. I'm looking at your picture on your wall here, or in your thing of your baptism.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's pretty powerful. What was that like?
It was great. I
How old were you there?
I think 27.
Really?
28.
Cool.
I think I was 28, maybe 29.
That's beautiful. What was that like?
I did it later. So I
Yeah.
I wanted something like that to be a choice of mine.
Were you baptized as a baby?
I don't think so. My parents had me go to church, but no, that became a choice later on after going through a lot of adversity and stuff and coming back through our marriage, and I wanted to do it. And people think that they don't like the being baptized like symbolizes you're just openly showing. It's a continual like renewal of your mindset.
It's very important
and stuff.
I think.
It is, but it's also not a one and done thing.
No, you got to be baptized
continually transforming your mindset and growing and evolving, like we're saying, and becoming a better version like of yourself.
Yes.
But that was a powerful moment for me. But people can do that and think, well, now everything should be perfect. I shouldn't have struggle. No, you're still going to have so much more struggle. It's going to be hard. Or even
might even be harder,
but you have something to fall on,
and you're saved in a way.
And like, I don't like this. Is probably the most I've talked on religion on a show. I'm just telling you, it's been so nice to have something to fall on.
Yeah,
in my moments of adversity.
For sure, God's right there, being like, "Hey, always here when you need me."
So listen, everyone, we appreciate it. This has been an awesome conversation. And we talked about at the beginning, don't worship the religion over the relationship. You don't have to be a jerk and throw stones at everyone.
And
Stop doing that.
I think actually the opposite should be done where, all these people, we have 150 comments plus on the Billy Wesley and your reaction video
on the Instagram one, like
4,000 on the Instagram thousands. I think as Christians we should pray, when I wasn't a Christian, one of my best friends told me he was praying for me every single day to find Jesus and
Mm.
have Jesus encounter me. And I really know and believe in the power of prayer. And I think if there's hundreds or thousands of people praying for Billy, it's inevitable he will have an encounter. And I think if that can happen, he will be such a powerful voice for the kingdom, because he can still talk about everything he talks about and also admit that there might be something to this Jesus guy. And I know he has a lot of pain around religion as well. I can just see it in the way he talks about it, but
Right.
rightfully so, rightfully so.
Right. I
And
get
I
it.
think as Christians,
Because human beings have let people down.
if we really believe, we will let our actions speak louder than our words, like we talked about, and pray for sinners. Not to say Billy's sinning, but he kind of is. He is.
And
but
go out instead of wasting your whole day
right,
hating on everyone, hating on people like
what would
David
Jesus
Goggins.
do?
Go out and freaking be the change you want to see.
Exactly.
Go out and do your own thing. Okay, you don't like how he's doing his show, start your own freaking show then. If people aren't happy of how I did my full thing, thank you. Start your own. Build a better building.
Yep.
Do your own purpose too. I want you to succeed and be amazing. Don't waste your energy of this short, precious, beautiful life you're giving being angry and throwing stones at everyone else. Invest that energy on becoming a better you, building your own purpose, living the sermon, changing lives in the way you're being called in your purpose to do that. We all want that. That's the ripple effect of greatness that changes the world one freaking beautiful mindset at a time.
Does. Amen.
Never settle, never give up, and keep elevating beyond. Boom.
Boom.